In the division of my mother's belongings after she died, I ended up with her desk. It had originally been her father's. It arrived a few weeks after the funeral, filled with her papers, delivered in a van by my sister. I didn't have the heart to look inside for quite some time. But when I did, I discovered a bunch of photographs of my mother and our family in color and in black and white. I pull out an extraordinary picture of my mother. Someone's written July 1969 on the back. She's standing on the deck of her cottage with guests, her head tilted back in that wonderful throaty laugh. Her expression says, la-dee-da. My name is Hume Baugh. I'm here doing a show called The Girl in the Picture Tries to Hang Up the Phone at Theatre Kingston. I wrote the piece and I'm performing it. It was directed by Mark Cassidy, who actually used to run Threshold Theatre here in town. And it's a one-person show about my family, my relationship with my mother, and addiction, I guess, and her death, what my family experienced when she died. The fact that it's a personal story makes it entirely different. In fact, I don't think I've ever done anything in the theater that is exactly like this. I mean, as an actor, you're always trying to make the story personal and make it as close to yourself as you can, but a lot of what we wrestled with in the creation of the show was what you can and can't do when you are telling a personal story. You know, I have an investment, I guess, in putting it together and trying to tell a story a certain way, you know, my point of view. In fact, my siblings, some of whom have seen the show, would not tell the story this way. You know, they have a very different take on things that happen, as one would expect. So it's more complex. You know, it's more complex in terms of trying to decide what's the right way to tell something, what to leave in, what to leave out. She's younger than I am now. She's in her early 40s. She's wearing a pair of shorts and an elegant short sleeve top. I remember it. The collar was round, the sleeves went down to the elbows, and the material was blue, and it sort of shimmered and sparkled. Her hair is healthy looking. It's bright blonde for the sun, and she's wearing one of those 60s bras that make your breasts look pointed. I've thought about this a lot because in one sense there is a message, and in another we would like to have it be as open-ended as possible. I think what prompted me to write the show was a reflection that perhaps our family had not dealt with the issue of addiction as well as we could have, that in a sense we failed, and I was interested in examining how we failed. There was also difference of opinion within my family about what would have been appropriate, and I wanted to tell the story my way. So I guess the story for me would be about how not to deal with addiction, you know, and what people can do to deal with it better. But in the end, ultimately, people are a mystery. And I think that's, in a sense, what the show is about. It asks, what is love? Is love when you interfere with other people's lives, when you are proactive and try to give them help that they may not want? Or is it when you sit back and respect people's choices? And those were the two choices that we made. And in the end, we just cannot really understand people finally, no matter how much we love them. There are parts of them that will always remain a mystery, which is not a statement, really. It's more of a question. Some of my family have seen it, and some are seeing it this time around. My sister came on the weekend, and you know, they tell you so much. I don't think they tell you everything. She liked it. My brother's going to come this weekend, so I'm always worried when they come because, you know, we've discussed all these things personally, but so far they've been pretty good. So far, nobody has, you know, punched me in the face afterwards or said you're totally wrong. But I know that when they come, they are going to disagree, and I have a privileged position, you know, I really do, because I'm allowed to get up on a stage and talk about it. And I wish in a way that we lived in a world where everybody could do that, you know, where all 5 of my siblings could get up and tell their version of my mom too, because it would be equally interesting and quite different. But so I'm always a bit worried when they show up and interested in how they react. Okay. She's got a pair of barbecue tongs in her right hand. Her eyes are half closed. She's wearing mascara. She looks like she's tanned. She's beautiful, just the way that I remember her, full of light, the center of attention. I hope that people will walk away from the show with questions about how we deal with addiction and mental illness. And by mental illness, I mean primarily depression, which both of these things, addiction and mental illness, I think are way more prevalent in our society than they're taboo still in 2012. It amazes me. So I hope that people will walk away thinking about those things and how we might deal with them differently or better. Or I tend to believe that talking about things, unless it's going to harm somebody, is always better than not. And I'm amazed that we still have such trouble being honest about these things. So that would be one thing I would hope that would happen, would be that people would walk away and maybe begin discussing something that might have, you know, not been discussable before. I've had people come up to me after the show and say, you know, we had this situation in our family, it's exactly like you describe. And to me, there's something liberating and wonderful about that conversation. So that would be one of my hopes. But as I keep looking at the picture, I think, you know, her expression looks sort of forced. She looks like she's acting. The expression on her face seems to say, you people are droning on and I'm acting like a polite, well-bred woman. But what if I didn't do that? What if I didn't? What if I just jumped in the car and drove away from here? What about that, huh?